This video couldn't happen without those you supporting me on Patreon, including the big patrons of this month, the Nerd Therapist and Xavius.
Hey! Pokemon Masters, Bertkeeper Toby here. You know, it was on a day like this that I first started the channel, a day that it was snowing, and I was determined that I was going to go out into the snow and make a video about Regice. It was one of the first videos on my channel, and I didn't go out into the snow. It was too cold. Also, there's cold winds out here. It could affect the camera and the microphone. Also, there are birds, there are pidgeys singing. So I will have to move us inside. But this time, when talking about an ice-type Pokemon, I thought I wasn't gonna not at least intro the video with me out here. And today's Pokemon is one you may not have heard of. And if you have, then well done. You've been paying attention. The Pokemon's name is KeoKeo. And if you're like, no, I definitely haven't heard of that. Well, it appears in Alolan Vulpix, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee Pokedex entry, which says that the elders of the Alola region know Vulpix by this other name, KeoKeo, which after doing minimal translation on the internet means spotless and white. An accurate description for an Alolan Vulpix. So there you go, mystery solved. This Pokemon is KeoKeo, right? Well, maybe not.
We all know how the Pokemon Company love to tease us and to reference future generations in games before they come out. How about the strange souvenir that appeared in Pokemon X and Y referencing the Alola region, or the time that Jesse and James and Meowth actually named all of the upcoming Pokemon games. Pokemon do like to do these little teasers, and they've been more than aware that we are making videos and trying to pinpoint where all the little Easter eggs and references are. So could KeoKeo be one of them? Is KeoKeo just Alolan Vulpix, or could it be referencing another Pokemon that Alolan Vulpix is related to? So starting off, why would I even think this? Well, number one, this is the first time we've had a Pokemon where we know it has two names, Alolan Vulpix and KeoKeo, and what this first got me thinking about is speciation. Many of you have seen my evolution series, or at least my first evolution video, explaining that when you have two species like Vulpix and Alolan Vulpix, as they begin to separate, they really begin to become two different species. Over time, eventually, certainly if they were real world animals, they wouldn't be able to breed. Of course, Pokemon egg groups are much, much bigger. But you'd end up with two completely different species. Another Pokemon that I suspect is highly related to Vulpix is Fennekin. They're both fire foxes with also ties to wizardry and spiritualism in their origins, with Delphox being a witch and supposedly Ninetales being created when 9 saints or wizards came together to create it. These Pokemon to me are very closely related and yet are two different families of Pokemon. And maybe the same thing is going on here. Maybe Alolan Vulpix is becoming so different from the original that it's becoming known as KeoKeo. But what struck me as odd here is the Pokedex entry doesn't say that it's now being called KeoKeo. What it says is that the elders of the Alola region know it by this other name. And that made me think, what if the story is happening in reverse? What if KeoKeo came first, and then there was a sort of ancestor of KeoKeo that is known as Vulpix, and then Vulpix entered the rest of the world where it became a fire type, and that Alolan Vulpix is actually the original. We have seen this before too, especially with Alolan Executor. Alolan Executor's Pokedex entries and lore strongly suggest that Alolan Executor is the original version, the proper Executor, and when it was migrated to other regions in the world, it then stunted in growth. It's only in the Alolan climate that Alolan Executor can stay tall and stay a dragon type. So why would Vulpix maybe be the same thing? Well, out of the 18 Alolan form Pokemon, almost all of them reference how they've changed since coming to Alola. All of those Pokedex entries talk about how they've adapted to the environment. There are 3 exceptions to this though: the Executor line, the Geodude line, and Vulpix. There's no actual confirmation that Vulpix has adapted to a snowy environment. Instead, there's every possibility that it actually happened the other way around. That Vulpix outside of a snowy environment lost its camouflage because it didn't need it. And another big bit of evidence towards this is all the other Pokemon that you find in the same environment as Alolan Vulpix, aka Mount Lana Killer, Sneasel, Absol, or in the other version of the game, Alolan Sandshrew. All of these Pokemon, according to the evolutionary tree of life, which by the way, you want to help me out? Get that poster down below. All of these Pokemon are very closely related. Actually, I tell a lie. I did in that series suggest that maybe Vulpix and Ninetales was more spiritually created in nature, and that maybe the story of the wizards was true. I'm more recently thinking that maybe that's just a myth and that in fact it is just a fox. But all of these Pokemon are relatively closely related. Sandshrew is the most loosely related. Which, side note, Alolan Sandshrew makes no sense whatsoever. Apparently, it ended up in a snowy mountain after trying to escape a volcano eruption. But as far as we know, Mount Lanakila isn't actually a volcano. And the desert of Alola is right next to Mount Lanakila. So I have no idea why Sandshrew settled on the mountain, not there, but that's a topic for another time. Coexisting with Vulpix, you have Absol and you have Sneasel, which Absol is a sort of dog thing, and Sneasel and Weavile have traits of both weasels and cats. They are all carnivorans, and while maybe not so much with Sneasel, you could especially see how Alolan Vulpix and Ninetales could be related to Absol with the white fur that would have been designed for blending in with what Mount Lanakila's snow. Sorry. And all of this got me thinking, if KeoKeo is a separate Pokemon that maybe we're going to see in Generation 8, then what would it look like? What would it be? Some kind of ancestor of all of these canine Pokemon? And that is why I commissioned and began coming up with this. First of all, we have the paw fossil. It's a fossil of a paw. My friend the Last Shaman did this. Thank you very much. It is a fossil Pokemon, so like all fossil Pokemon, it's going to be part rock type when it is revived. This Pokemon is KeoKeo's pre-evolution, or maybe this is KeoKeo. I mean, it's certainly the one that looks the most like Vulpix. And this artwork has been done by L Darkcore on Instagram, and L Darkcore, thank you so much. The turnaround for this commission was like a day. Thank you so much. I got excited about this video idea because it was snowing. I was like, I have to film a video on this, and here we have it. Just a beautiful looking Pokemon, and its evolution coming up after. So here we have our pre-evolution KeoKeo, or maybe this is KeoKeo's pre-evolution and KeoKeo is the evolution after. All fossils come in sets of 2, other than Aerodactyl. Poor Aerodactyl. And of course it has to have the rock typing because it's a fossil, and then also the ice type, and you could see how this Pokemon could be mistaken for Alolan Vulpix and could be known by the elders of the region as KeoKeo if this is an ancestor, a more recent ancestor to Vulpix. On top of that, you could see how it could easily be an ancestor to maybe Absol, many of the other dog Pokemon of Alola, like Lycanroc. Lycanroc was actually a big inspiration for this Pokemon, it being an organic Pokemon that has the rock typing, and on top of that, even Pokemon like Lucario that have the spike in their chest that are also dogs. And then, of course, on the flip side of that, all the fox Pokemon like Vulpix and Fennekin. All these Pokemon could be an ancestor of this one fossil Pokemon. You can see that also, like Alolan Vulpix, it's adorable and maybe would have been sought after as a pet, and that's why Pokemon like Vulpix have been taken away from the Alolan region, because they're just so darn cute. But then we get its evolution, and again, thank you so much, L Darkcore. And whereas with the pre-evolution, I was like, hey, let's look at our ancient fox dog ancestors and try and inspire it around that. For this, I looked at something totally different, the maned wolf, which is it's not a true wolf or dog or fox. It is the only remaining member of its family of canids, and it is, of course, related to these creatures distantly, but it is such a cool looking animal, and I think it would be amazing to have a fossil Pokemon based off of it. This is KeoKeo, or KeoKeo's evolution. A rock ice type that would use moves like Ice Shard and Stealth Rocks. A Pokemon that would hunt in packs. And again, by the way, Pokedex entries for Alolan Vulpix and Sneasel that live on the same mountain. Vulpix hunts in skulks, which is a group of fox, and Sneasel hunts in packs. You could see again how these creatures might be related and what their ancestor might be. With that in mind, my hope is very much so that given that we didn't get any fossil Pokemon in the Alola region, that we do in Generation 8, and the Pokemon KeoKeo is not just an alternate name for Vulpix, but rather a hint to something long forgotten in the past. Thank you for checking out this video. I've been enjoying doing a lot of fake Mon type stuff recently. I think more fake Mon are going to be appearing on the channel as we move closer to Generation 8. Lots of predictions and thoughts and that kind of thing. Let me know what you think about this Pokemon KeoKeo in the comments. And of course, so hi Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master.